here we're going to focus on the applications, and we have more content available that's covering Unilumin technologies and the manufacturing process. First of all, allow me to introduce our guest today, Nedi Nodar Shahi, who is Chief Scientist at Unilumin. Welcome. And Steve Scorse, who is CEO of Unilumin Group UK. And joining us on screen, we have Ted Romanowitz, who is Principal Analyst and Head of Pro Displays at Future Source Consulting. Steve, can we start with you? What are the key applications for mini and micro LED as of today?
Well, there are numerous applications for mini and micro LED. You have to look at effectively, it fits anywhere that an SMD wall fits effectively, but there are some areas where the specific advantages of mini and micro LED play a key role in making them a very, very nice fit. So you're looking at things like the high stability of the technology, the very high contrast compared to SMD technology, high brightness, high efficiency, in other words, low power usage, and a high display effect. So anything requiring one or more of these will be drawn into the mini micro LED area. So, for example, control rooms, conference rooms, broadcast, these are sort of key areas, but also government education, and as costs come down in particular, those areas become more of a target market. And then you've got other applications requiring where high protection is an issue. You know, as you get to the smaller pixel pitches, as we've discussed in some of the other presentations, smaller pixel pitches, sub 1 millimeter in particular, using SMD technology, are quite fragile devices, so they're susceptible to physical damage, or certainly not suitable for use with as say a touchscreen without having a glass overlay. While using mini micro LED technology, you can have direct touchscreen access without an overlay onto the screen surface, because you have the protection and you have static resistance, dust resistance, dirt resistance. They're waterproof. You know, they're very, very ideal for those sort of applications. And in the future, there's absolutely no reason why you can't have outdoor displays that are using COB technology. Today we don't have outdoor displays, but as we develop the high brightness versions, that's something that can happen as well. There's other things there that there's certain applications there where there's a very, very good sweet spot for COB and mini micro LED, and one of those is the virtual production market. And I think that's going to see an area that's going to see a major development in the use of COB, mini LED, micro LED, as pixel pitch requirements get smaller and smaller.
Nedi, would you mind expanding on that for us a little bit? Maybe the prevailing technologies that will be important to the burgeoning industry of virtual production, or even extended reality and the on-camera market.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so this is a market that is moving in the direction of sort of new innovations and technologies that are required specifically. First of all, we need to fix some of the problems that we have, because many of the products that we offer in this market today, as the whole industry does, is mostly in the form of whatever products that exist now that may actually be okay for on camera, but that's different than actually building products that are specifically made and designed for on camera. The problems we need to fix are the obvious ones are the aliasing, which happens a lot, and there are flicker issues that are caused by a number of problems, not just refresh rate, by the way. Many people think it's just refresh rate. And there's content discontinuity issues, and also the synchronization that relates to that. So to the extent, and banding, of course, that is a result of aliasing. So the efforts to actually resolve some of these issues has led to a design of these products from scratch. In other words, rather than fixing problems, addressing the problems in advance, and actually building a particular architecture that is evolved around the requirements that are set by the camera. To this extent, you have to assume that this not only addresses the problems that I just mentioned, but also adds features, architectural features that are important. Some of those could be, for example, the much higher frame rate, obviously, but also particularly, especially as the on-camera screen's pitch gets beyond 200 ppi, which is about 0.12 millimeter eventually. You would have a dead space available on the screen to address the on-camera tracking, for example, with the sensors, or you could build in synchronization, communication mechanism for synchronization that is linked to the shutter rate of the cameras directly, because that's one of the traditional problems that we face. There's a video skew, a huge amount of video skew between the content as it gets actually rendered on the screen versus the shutter rate or the frame by which the camera actually sees that content. And that's, of course, very different from the way human brain and eye processes the image on the screen versus how the camera sees it. And so to this end, the synchronization is really, really important. And synchronization to where the content is actually emitted, not the input to the wall processor where the content is fed into the screen. So all of those actually, in addition to some of these new features, are going to be the things that we will see very soon in the products that are designed specifically for this market.
What would you say is the change in dynamics in our industry as a result of the advent and the dawn of new cutting-edge technologies such as micro-LED? So the micro-LED as it relates to virtual production, you mean, or in general? So in general, that's sort of a very vast topic in itself. I think the competency or the proficiency of the companies in our industry actually creates a huge change in the dynamics of how different companies react to the advent of these, the dawn of these new technologies. Specifically the micro-LEDs, because you asked about the micro-LED, is sort of a new thing that addresses many of the deficiencies that we actually live with and have lived with our existing architecture for many years. I would say maybe more than 25 years. So to this end, the micro-LEDs almost require the push towards active matrix driving schemes. They require the advent of what's called the black to light ratio, which is is slightly different than a fill ratio, which is the ratio by which you actually have light emitting from the screen versus the surrounding, which is typically black. All of those things are actually technologies that are either addressed by companies immediately, or they are basically ignored. So the dynamics of the change that affects our industry relates mostly to the competency of the companies that are willing or are prepared to actually invest in those technologies more than anything else. Understood. Perhaps at this point we could bring in Ted to help us understand some data and analysis at this point. Ted, could you help us with what's the market share for LED technology compared with other technologies like LCD, projection and so on, and where is that expected to go over the next 5 years?
Great question. And the market is definitely in transitional growth. Thank goodness we've recovered from the global COVID pandemic, the market is increasing at a healthy compound annual growth rate. If you look at the snapshot on the right-hand side of the slide, it shows that the market jumps from 33 billion in 21 to almost 50 billion in 26. But look at how LED, its share will increase from 23% to 40%. LCD specifically drops from almost 60% to 50%. So a dramatic impact. And as we get towards the end of the century, the impact will be increasingly, more severe, where LED will become the leading display technology in the late 20s, early 30s, without a doubt.
Ted, what would you say is the growth in demand for narrow pixel pitch technology compared to others, and how is this impacting on the vertical markets?
Yeah, and if you look at the key performance indicators, LED across the board is growing at more than a 20% compound annual growth rate over the next 5 years, but dramatically the majority of the growth is in the narrow pixel pitch ranges. That's where you're seeing the dramatic jump. And it's for exactly the reasons that Nettie has talked about, right? These technology transitions from SMD to IMD, as well as to mini LED, and then eventually true micro LED. So though that technology transition evolution will drive the impact, will drive the transition to more and more narrow pixel pitches. And the really important thing, I think, is that transition will return us to a decrease in ASP erosion. So pricing, especially for ultra narrow pixel pitches below 1 millimeter, will start to come down and become increasingly cost effective, especially towards LCD flat panel displays. And if you look at it from a vertical perspective, the growth is amazing, right? What you'll see is, I'm going to kind of break this down into 3 different areas: digital signage, presentation, and then technical applications of LED. So if you look at digital signage itself, the standard and narrow pixel pitch shares are very mature. We don't expect them to change very much. What we do expect is that ultra narrow pixel pitch will enable exciting new close-up viewing experiences, and this will really impact some very important market verticals. For example, retail, media, and advertising LED will enable a higher impact image and expand the length of impression for the people that the retailers, the marketers are trying to influence. So that's very, very important because of the wider viewing angle, higher brightness, better colors. There's a plethora of reasons, as Steve mentioned. And then another great example is hospitality, leisure, stadiums, and venues. Right now, a lot of the use of LED is in higher pixel pitches, where it's in digital signage. The displays are located higher up, so your viewing distance is much further. So you can get away with using 2.5 or 2 millimeter type of pixel pitches and still have a retina type display. With ultra narrow pixel pitch LED, what that allows you to do is allow viewing up to sort of a meter away. So you'll see it in public spaces at eye level. This is a major shift. It'll unseat LCD technology in those spaces. And then on the presentation side, in corporate education as well as hospitality and leisure, ultra narrow pixel pitch will begin to be used in medium and large meeting spaces in classrooms, whereas a lot of the time now they're relegated to executive spaces or much larger, grander spaces. With the viewing distance being so close, they'll be able to address the user experiences in those smaller meeting spaces. And one of the stats that Future Source Consulting tracks is we do corporate end user surveys. There's over 70 million meeting rooms in the world that LED could address with this ultra narrow pixel pitch. That's a tremendous number. And then finally, on the more technical side, in control rooms and broadcast, we see that ultra narrow pixel pitch will support the shift towards smaller spaces. In the control rooms, you're seeing smaller, more geographically dispersed control rooms instead of a single large control room. So again, smaller spaces, tighter quarters, you need a more narrow pixel pitch to get the viewing experience that the client wants. And then with broadcast, as Nettie mentioned, the narrow pixel pitches enable a much better on-camera experience, and they also support smaller stages, which is a trend versus the larger grand stages. Fewer of those are being built versus the small and medium-sized stages. So, LED will give a lot of flexibility in set and stage design as we get to more narrow pixel pitches. So those are some of the major trends that have been happening, and the impact that we see moving forward with ultra narrow pixel pitch.
Fantastic. That's so insightful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ted, Steve, Nettie. Really valuable information. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching.